Let's sit nice and tall. Close the eyes. Breathing in and breathing out. And once again, allowing yourself to become established in this moment, present. Drawing the hands together in front of the heart. And we'll lift our voices in one communal Om, and then I will chant the invocation mantras. Taking a breath in for Om. Om. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Ganana Antva Ganapatigam Havamahe Kavin Kavinam Upamashravastamam Jistarajam Brahmanan Brahmanaspata Anafshrinvanuti Bisidasadhanam Mahaganapataye Namaha. Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebir Vajini Vati Tinama Vitriyavatu Ano Devo Brahataf Parvata Da Saraswati Vajata Gantu Yagnyam Havan Devi Jujushana Gritachi Shagman Novacha Mushati Shrinotu Vagdevyai Namaha. And then gently releasing the hands down and fluttering the eyes open. And we'll be having some upcoming classes to teach those invocations to those of you who would like to learn them so that you can join in also. They are part of a tradition of Vedic chanting. The first is an invocation to Ganesha, which in modern times we refer to as the remover of obstacles. Truly, it's sometimes he might place them there too. It just depends on probably how well we're behaving. And by that I mean we're really the ones responsible for many of the obstacles that appear and disappear in our own lives. And so by invoking Ganapati, what we're asking is for the wisdom and the clarity necessary in order to understand the purpose of obstacles and then have the strength, the courage, the resiliency to remove them, to resolve them, to utilize their usefulness if there happens to be any. Yeah. And then the second mantra is a mantra to the mother, Devi Saraswati, one of the many forms of the mother. And it's asking for her love, her protection, her nourishment, her wisdom. She is the goddess of creativity, education, sound. She's oftentimes, in kind of modern terms, the patron goddess of artists and musicians, because that's the realm. You know, she brings out within us all that is creative, all that is expressive and imaginative and wise. And so it's invoking her and asking for those blessings to be realized and obvious to us in this life. So today is the 7th day of Navratri. Navratri is translated as the 9 nights of the goddess. It is a time of year. It's actually practiced 4 times a year. 2 of the 4, so they're seasonal. 2 of the 4 are a bit larger, and the fall Navratri is the largest of them all. And so it's a time that we celebrate the Tridevi, the 3 primary forms of goddess. That is Saraswati, the creatrix, Lakshmi, the abundance, and Durga, the destructive aspect or the warrior aspect. And so we have these 3 components to life. We have birth, maintenance, and destruction. Birth, maintenance, and death. And each and every one of these aspects of life needs to be revered, honored, held in some sacred way in order for us to realize in all our humanness the potency that they carry for us. So in India, I found it so astounding that they have on order of 795 festivals per year, and that's probably not all of them. That's, I'm sure, a very conservative number. And many of those festivals are multiple days. So this one is nine nights and 10 days. So imagine 795 festivals in a year that only has 365 days. There's always something to celebrate, always something to be joyous about, always something to contemplate, always an opportunity to uplift your devotion, your service, your unity, your understanding. And isn't that what life is all about, right? So we find ourselves here on this seventh day. These 9 days are broken into 3 parts in the bigger picture. Saraswati, Lakshmi, and Durga, but they're celebrated in the opposite. So Durga is the first 3 days, and then Lakshmi, and then Saraswati. And then we also have a celebration of each individual day, or each individual night is a different aspect of the Mother Durga. Today is Kalaratri, 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 spelling, Kalaratri. And Kalaratri is considered to be the most fierce form. So Kali, think of Kali, for those of you who have seen her picture. The most fierce form of the Mother Goddess. And she comes forth today because in the trajectory of these 9 nights, there is a great battle happening. And the great battle it started because of human greed and arrogance, pride and ignorance. An individual was a devotee of Lord Brahma and prayed to him for 1,000 years, every day, very devotedly. And at the end of the 1,000 years went up to him and said, I really think I should get a boon for all this praying I'm doing. So what benefit can I have? And Lord Brahma, who always wants his devotees to be very happy, said, well, what benefit would you like? What gift would you like in return? And he thought about it and he said, well, I would like immortality. And Lord Brahma said, you cannot have immortality as a boon. Even the gods, when they become embodied, must die. So pick something else, please. And so he did. He's very conniving. And he thought, well, may it be that I can be killed by no man, no animal bite, no poison. Let it be that none of these things can harm me. And Brahma said, okay. Silly Brahma. As soon as he received this boon, feeling impenetrable, he started to wreak havoc in the world. He started to exploit and steal and all those things. People were suffering. The ethical kingdoms were dissolving. They were crashing down into his corruption. And the gods, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, the other gods, Indra, all the rest, could do nothing because they're all the masculine form. So some stories say Vishnu came forward. Other stories say Shiva came forward and said, well, we obviously can't do anything about this because he's impermeable to being killed by a male, so we must call the mother. So they build a great yagna, and they make offerings into that fire, and the fire grows very, very, very big. And as they're making the final offerings, the flames part, and through the flames come a lion, beautiful golden lion. And sitting on top of the lion is the most beautiful woman with long black hair, a beautiful deep red sari, begemmed, golden jewels, all types of gold and jewels, and all types of beautiful wares. Sitting kind of side saddle, but no saddle, on top of a lion. So here's this beautiful mother of the universe riding atop what is the symbol of the king of all beasts. And he is completely tame under her energy. He is her servant, her vehicle, and he carries her everywhere she needs to go. They step out from the fire and she says, "Why have you called me?" They explain to her what happened and they ask her for her support. Of course, she's the mother. She's going to support. Now, Durga is considered to be the first incarnation of Shakti. Shakti is formless. Shakti has no form. Shakti is the energy of the universe. It's invisible to our eyes, but we feel it every day, like when you get chilly, when the blanket brings you comfort and the body warms itself, when you see fire, when you blink your eyes, and anything, when a seed sprouts, it's all energy, it's all Shakti. Shakti's first incarnation is Durga, Durga Ma. We like to refer to her as the original spiritual warrior. She is Shakti, so all she has to do is take her power back, because there is no power that exists in the universe without her. And so whatever this individual, whose name is Mahishasura, whatever he is wielding actually belongs to her. But he is so corrupt that he thinks it belongs to him. So she could just take it back. But it's not of the mother to take or give things easily. Instead, because of her deep compassion, she wishes to see her children reconciled to the truth of their wholeness, of their fullness, and of their unity. So better that, if he's going to die in this battle, better that he die realizing in his heart the truth than he die ignorant. Because in Hinduism, Sanatana Dharma, there is this concept of reincarnation. So he's going to come back. Should he come back in a similar form as to what he was, seeking corruption and a way to wreak havoc? Or should he come back in a different form? A form that has more understanding, knowing, and compassion. So she decides she's going to disguise herself as a cowherd girl. She goes over on a close hillside, with a bunch of cows. And the attendant to Mahishasura sees her radiant beauty from a distance. And he runs back to his master and he says, "You have taken the best of what this world has to offer. You've taken so many beautiful wives. And I'm very sad to share with you, but you have not taken the most beautiful wife, because she's herding cows over on this hillside. And your greatness will not become fully manifested until you have her as your wife also." And so Mahishasura says to him, "Well, then go get her. Go tell her, come, get married to me. She'll be one of my wives. She'll be well taken care of. Her family will be safe. Go tell her, and tell her don't dare say no. Because if she says no, then you will drag her here by her hair, and we will kill her family, and she will suffer greatly." The attendant, having a feeling, I suppose, that there's something quite special about this person, approaches her and says, "Ma, my master has sent me to fetch you, to tell you to come to marry him. And please don't say no, because that would be a grave mistake. I've been told that I'm to bring you no matter what." And she looks at him and she says, "No." And he's like, "Wrong choice." She said, No. She said, "You don't understand. Please give your master this message. Tell him I mean him no disrespect at all. As a silly child, young child, I had no understanding of the world. And I made a vow in my pride, in my arrogance, I made a vow that I would only marry the man who could defeat me in battle. So please tell your master this is no big deal. I'm nothing but a lowly female. I'm a cowherd girl. Certainly, all he will have to do is blow me over. But he'll have to come here and do that." The attendant went back to Mahishasura and gave him this message. Mahishasura was not happy. He started to send his generals and his majors and his, all of his warrior attendants to fetch her, one at a time, two at a time, and she kept annihilating them. Today, he sends Shumbha and Nishumbha. Today. Shumbha and Nishumbha. Shumbha and Nishumbha, as with all of the other demons that he sent to retrieve Ma, have a special meaning to us. It's not just that this is a great story about this human demon who's sending these other demons to go try to conquer the mother of the universe. It's actually laying out a plan for us. It's laying out a path. It's telling us that just as Ma is encountering these demons and having to literally battle them, so too do we encounter these demons. The first two that she encountered were Madhu and Kaitab. Madhu is sweet. Kaitab is bitter. She encountered sweetness and bitterness. He sent her sweetness, thinking to lull her, and then he sent her bitterness, thinking to make her angry in some way, shape, or form, to show her, that if she doesn't concede to his wishes, that life is going to be very bitter. So best she come to him, even in a moment of anger, best she come to him. Well, Shumbha and Nishumbha are arrogance and pride. So he sent her today arrogance and pride. Who here has never battled arrogance and pride? Right? Yeah. We all have. And there were so many other demons that he sent. These are kind of the major ones, but there's also all the support that he's sending along with them. And so Mother Durga is battling all of these different entities, and then she's also battling arrogance and pride. And so she draws forth from within herself this beautiful, amazing aspect of herself called Kalaratri. Kalaratri is she's Kali. Who here has not seen a picture of Kali? Kali Ma. Oh, so Kali Ma is very interesting because in India, what we today call India, the goddess is oftentimes depicted as Saraswati or Durga or Lakshmi, very beautiful and proper and adorned. And Kali is not these things. Kali is naked. Her body is of a black form. It's said that Parvati peeled off her golden skin and stepped out into the form of Kalaratri. Parvati is another name for Durga. And she has a garland of severed heads. She has a waistband of severed arms and legs. She has large black bloodshot eyes, I should say white bloodshot eyes with black in the center. She's got fangs with blood dripping off of them. And people say she's so very frightening. She is the fierceness of the mother, the fierceness. But she's not an animal. She's not a beast. She's not crazy. She's not what many people in the West perceive her to be, as some kind of vampirous thing to be afraid of, a demon in and of herself. No. She is the fiercest, most aspect of the Divine Mother that resides within you and within me. There's clarity. There is no excuses. There are no excuses. My English today is really off. There are no excuses. There is something that must be done, and it must be done. And it requires a fierceness in order to do it. If anybody here is an ex-smoker, I use that often as an example, right? It's not just to put the cigarette down. No, that's not going to work. There's a fierceness inside of you that has to come forward and say, enough is enough. It's enough. It has to stop now. Well, Kalaratri is that fierceness and more. And so she comes forward and she battles Shumbha and Nishumbha. She battles pride and arrogance because there can be no more of that. No more pride, no more arrogance. With the suffering this causes. When we come into our arrogance, when we come into our prideful state, there is so much suffering that comes along with that. And Kalaratri says, no, that's it. This has to end now. So she ends them. Now, right after Shumbha and Nishumbha comes a very important demon that we often overlook in ourselves. Pride and arrogance feed into this demon named Rakta Bija. Rakta Bija is desire. Desire. And so Rakta Bija is the third of the demons that Kalaratri annihilates. And here we can say Mother Kali opens her mouth very wide, and she has a very long, lolling red tongue, and she consumes the entirety of Rakta Bija as Mother Durga severs his head. It sounds very violent, but it's not when you think about it from the perspective of a healthy versus an unhealthy ego. What do you need to do to get your unhealthy ego in check is you need to end it. You need to end it. Take the head away from the body, the head being representative of the ego. So Kali is the one who came forward and ended Rakta Bija in one fell swoop because she had this capacity to devour him whole, to not leave one drop of his blood anywhere, because his blood had a very special ability to regenerate him. So for every drop of his blood that touched the earth, another one of him rose. So she knew, that's like, you can't just have one cigarette if you're an ex-smoker, right? You got to stop it. You got to end it. You can't just have one drink if you are recovering from alcoholism. You can't just have one drug. You can't just have one of something. The ego latches onto it and says, I want another and another and another. And so that one gives way to 10,000 more. And that leads to suffering and only suffering. So Kali tells us, she teaches us in this part of this path, this glorious festival, she says, you must end your negative desires like that. Consume them whole. Be done with them. Such an amazingly strong message, so poignant for each and every one of us. Because no matter where we are, no one is ahead of another. No one is way, way ahead and no one is way, way behind. We're all clustered. We're all clustered. And we're all interacting in ways that are, in some ways, can be harmonizing, but in most ways are defeating each other and ourselves. And we need to recognize that and become humble. We need to become humble to the understanding that we each must do our work, and we must show up to do it ourselves, just as the Mahishasura needed to show up in person to battle Mother Durga in person. None of his attendants would do, because they cannot do his work for him. Does that make sense? Yeah. See, people listen to stories sometimes and they say, oh, it's a great story, or, oh, it's about a bunch of demons. And it's like, listen. Because it's not just a story. It's a path. She's giving you the answer. Everybody in this room, I'm certain, has asked at one point or another, what do I do next on this path? How do I find what I'm searching for? Pick up the Devi Mahatmya and read it. And she tells you, have you battled your preferences yet? The bitter and the sweet. Have you looked at your self-deprecating behaviors yet? Have you looked at your greed and envy yet? Have you looked at your arrogance and pride? Have you addressed your desires? She gives us the path. And she even gives us the process. Which one comes first, second, third, fourth, fifth, because you can't go straight to the desires. You can try, but desires are there because of preferences. Desires are there because of self-deprecating behaviors. Desires are there because of greed and envy. Desires are there because of confusion. So you need to go through all of these others first. And in doing so, you're weakening the desires. And by the time you get to that kind of final battle, you're already winning. You're already there. Because of all the wisdom that you've acquired along the way, the strength, the resiliency, the understanding. There won't be any more questions at that point. It won't be, but I just want to have fun. Isn't that just kind of part of fun? That question won't be there anymore. But I'll be bored, passive. I don't want to be that. Those doubts won't be there anymore. You won't need justification for embracing the wholeness within yourself. That need will not be there anymore because you will understand that what we are, each and every one of us, battling right now is the fact that we have torn ourselves apart into a million little pieces, and we're struggling trying to put those pieces back together with our ego, when the reality is the only thing that will heal the divisions that we ourselves have created is the grace of the Mother, which already exists within us and is free of the ego. The ego is the antithetical substance to the Mother's grace when it's unhealthy. And that's the other thing, too. We like to grasp at things, we say the ego. And then all of a sudden, this whole group of people come out like, the ego is not the problem. And it's like, no, you're right. The ego is not the problem. The unhealthy ego is the problem. The healthy ego is actually what causes you to step on the path in the first place. The healthy ego is what says there's something just not quite right here. But inevitably, because of those preferences, because of self-deprecating behavior, because of pride and arrogance, we tend to quash the healthy ego in favor of the unhealthy ego. Many of the great teachers through time have said doubt is the greatest poison of the heart, because doubt is what leads us to quash the healthy ego and embrace the unhealthy ego, to answer questions that don't need answers. If you know the truth. Question, am I worthy? Am I valuable as a person? Am I funny? Am I pretty? Am I tall enough? Am I thin enough? Am I short enough? Am I this enough? Am I talented enough? All these questions that don't need to be asked, because inherently you are exactly perfect. You are exactly you. And that is exactly what you are meant to be. These other labels that we've put on things are part of our battle. Pride and arrogance, right? Well, I don't want to be gray. I want to have my auburn hair back, right? So as part of my pride and arrogance, what might I do? Trek on over to the hairstylist and have a bunch of deadly chemicals put on my head, right? I stopped doing that a long time ago, but I look back now and I say, oh my goodness, in my pride and arrogance, I never once thought about what it was that I was putting on my body. Like, it's fun. You got a safe way of doing it, go do it. Use henna, use, whatever. There's like natural dyes out there. Wonderful. But when you go putting a bunch of chemicals on your body in order to satiate your pride, which can never truly be satiated, right? Yeah. Oh, do I feel so silly looking back at that? The perms, it's like, I'm a child of the 70s and 80s. The bigger the hair, the better, So the perms. And, and there's always that warning on the box, too, that says, don't do this more than once every 3 months or something. We were doing it every month, because we didn't want any of the curl to go away. We want, big hair. Yeah. It's crazy. The things that the unhealthy ego pulls us into, lures us into. And yeah, it is because of desires, but the desires are there because of all of these other aspects, all these other qualities. Now, what happens if we don't address these? What happens if we just look at this wonderful story of Mother Durga and Kalaratri and all the other aspects of the goddess that the mother brought forth? What happens if we don't pay attention? And if we just look at it as a fable, suffering continues until we learn otherwise. Period. And we'll continue on saying, why do I suffer like this every time? Because you're not listening. Because you're not paying attention. Why so many forms of the goddess? Why does Parvati peel away her golden skin and allow this Kalaratri to come out, this meaning darkness of death, or death of darkness? Either way. Kalaratri, death of darkness or darkness of death. Because there's a different part of you, there's a different quality that you carry that is the appropriate guide for every task you have to do. Everybody's heard of the inner child, correct? Right? So we all have an inner child. So let's just say that you need to get up on stage and debate someone as part of a class you're taking. And you need to debate someone pretty strongly, let's just say about politics or religion. Those are the two topics that get everybody, right? So you have to get up on stage, and your grade is dependent upon this. Is it the inner child that should guide the way? No. It's probably more the inner warrior. It's another aspect of you that is capable, absolutely qualified to take the lead here. When you're with your partner and you wish to be romantic, is it the fear in you that should lead the way? No, it's the lover, right? When you are having a conversation with someone who might be your superior or know more about a topic than you do, should it be the ignorant one that enters into that and leads the way? No, it should be the curious one, the one who knows that they are intelligent and can learn. So this is what the goddess is also expressing to us. She's saying, don't make the mistake of bringing forth the quality that is actually going to diminish you. In this particular instance, there is a time and a place for the inner child. There is a time and a place for the warrior. There is a time and a place for the lover. There is a time and a place for the friend. There is a time and a place for all aspects of your personality. Don't confuse them. It's not cute bringing forward the broken child, the child who is still suffering, when what's needed is the warrior. Acquire the skills necessary as best you can. And share those skills with other people. Because there's a lot of women particularly, but a lot of men too, but a lot of women out there who have never been taught skills about the different aspects of their personality and the qualities that they carry and the worthiness that they inherently have. So be a friend to every sister and to every brother, because it's only through that bonding and through that witnessing of each other's journey and through the understanding that this is the battle that each and every single one of us are fighting, that we're going to come to the place where suffering is far less and peace and joy are far more. Questions or reflections? Questions or reflections? What do you think? Yes?
Where can I get more information on this? That book that I think you mentioned and Jaya had said the other day.
Yeah, the Devi Mahatmya. Yeah, so what is his name? There's a Western author who has a wonderful telling of it. So there's commentaries. Typically, you have the scripture, and then the author of the commentary. There's so many different commentaries. But I can definitely get that to you. It's a blue and white cover, and it has a beautiful picture of the mother, kind of the shadow of the mother on the cover. But the Devi Mahatmya would be one place that you could definitely read more. You read the actual scripture itself, and the entire battle is there, as is so many other things, so many other wonderful tellings of the mother, you know. The mother's love for Shiva is there. The mother's love for her children are there. The process of creation, maintenance, and destruction is there. It's all there. How we come to be human, the purpose of our humanity, the dharma of it all, the explanation of karma, it's all there. Karma, it's all there. It's beautiful, beautiful scripture. Before you leave, I'll go down to my office and get the author's name for you.
Could I have that also?
Absolutely, yes. And you know what I'll do? I'll post a link up on my Facebook page. Is everybody friends with me on Facebook here? If you're not, friend me on Facebook. Are you on Facebook? Yeah, I know some people nowadays aren't. But you can friend me on there. And I'll also post it up there for everybody. So, because I might not see everybody before you go today. So we have 2 more nights for this amazing, beautiful celebration of Navratri. And then on the 10th day, is the celebration of the victory of goodness over evil, of what they call light over darkness, the inner knowing, the wisdom over ignorance. The 10th day, the celebration of that. But it's been a long battle. It's been a long battle. The scriptural battle, thousands of years. Our battle, lifetimes. So the other thing that we should always remember is that perfection is not the goal. Not really. Perfection is not the goal. We get wrapped up in the idea of, well, I'm going to have to be the perfect yogi, and I'm going to have to do this. And then the moment that we can't, like, sit in meditation for 5 hours without having a thought, you know, or we fall out of our headstand, or whatever happens, we have anger over something, you know, and something valid even, right? We all of a sudden feel that we have failed. And then we chastise ourselves over it, and we're like, oh, I'm just not worthy, it's just more proof. Perfection is not what you're seeking. Perfection is not what you're seeking. You are not seeking to be perfect. What you can seek is to suffer a little less and to be joyful a little more. What you can seek is to, a little bit at a time, come to more authentically know yourself. What are your tendencies? What are your potentialities? What are you not addressing in life? What role does that play in how much you suffer, how well you sleep or don't sleep, the way you eat, the way you relate to others, how quickly you are to become angry? Start to understand these things. And don't look and say, oh, well, you know, I get angry because I'm a bad person. No, you get angry because you're a human being. You're not a bad person. You're a human being who does not have control over their emotions at times. So the Mother Durga illustrates for us what we need to do, specifically as she's coming out from that beautiful yagna, that beautiful fire ceremony. She's sitting side saddle with no saddle. This always blows my mind. On a lion who is defined as a man killer, the king of beasts, you know, ferocious, to be killed by none. And yet she's sitting there, not a hair out of place, with this lion, so tame, and not tamed out of fear, not tamed out of denigration, but tamed out of love, compassion, and honor, that he puts his bestiality beside and says, I'm your servant. There's a beautiful illustration of Shiva, Lord Shiva, which is Durga's male consort. One of the earliest clay molds of him is he's sitting in meditation and the animals are all around him. He's got all kinds of animals sitting at his feet. And in that form, he's known as Prajapati, the great yogi. And what that tells us also, just as what the mother told us, is that the more you come to know the truth of yourself, the less fear there will be surrounding you. Even the animals of the forest won't fear you anymore. The lions won't feel the need to attack you. The rabbits won't run away. The deer will come right up to you. Because the air that you are sending out with your exhale will be of a much different quality than what they were before, when fear was still the primary guide. So these are all very poetical descriptions, and basically what they're saying is, you're coming to know yourself, your embracing of your own spiritual work and showing up to do that work makes this world a better place for all, including you. Including you. Any other questions or reflections right now? Yeah?
I have another one.
Absolutely. As many as you like, love.
What are different ways to incorporate this into everyday life, like a meditation? What do you suggest on a daily basis?
Oh, sure. It's a great question. There's so many things that we can do. The first thing is slow down, right? And so many of us live a life that is fast-paced. Like we work 40 to 60 hours a week, and then we party hard, and and then we sleep a little. We eat on the run. We grab a kiss from our loved one before we run out of the house. We're rarely taking the time to, as they say, stop and smell the roses, right? So stop and smell the roses. Just be curious. What happens if I slow down and if I take a moment to really listen in this conversation, to smell the mangoes before I buy them? Mindfulness, the key, every day, Don't just grab a kiss from your loved one. Give them a kiss. Feel the connection there. When you're holding hands with your child, if you have a small child, don't just tug them along. Feel the energy of that little hand in your hand, or the adult hand in your hand, whoever's hand you're holding. Feel the energy there. Be open to that feeling, to that recognition of the life within you and the life around you. Sit in nature. Go for a walk in nature every day. And don't be like, okay, got a half an hour now, going to do 3 miles. No. Even if you only walk 10 feet, walk in nature every day and be with nature. Look at the leaves, the tree. There's so much going on out there right now with the changing of the seasons. Be awed by that. Let it build your curiosity. And then you won't want to get to the end of the trail in a half an hour. Then you'll just want to be where you are. The more that we empower ourselves to be where we are, the less we need to feed that last guy, Raktabija, desire. Because the more that we become content with being where we are, the more we understand that 99% of those desires are distractions. And what are they really distracting us from? Being where we are. So day to day, meditate every day if you can, if that's what your temperament is called to. Sit quietly. Start with 5 minutes. If you can't do 5 minutes, do 2 minutes. If you can't do 2 minutes, do 1 minute. But start somewhere. If you can't do 1 minute, do 30 seconds. And every day increase by 1 minute until you reach your age. And then continue. Yes. Yeah. So that's your first goal. Your first goal is to start meditating and then increase it every day by 1 minute until you reach your age, and then continue adding a minute every day after that, because by that time you're not really going to mind, because you'll know the purpose of meditation, right? If there is anger, frustration, tension in the body and in the mind, get on your yoga mat every day. Pick 3 postures, and let one of them be Shavasana. The other 2 can be whatever you like them to be, but do postures every day to help alleviate the impact of those types of emotions and physical feelings. Breathe. Sit down every day and breathe. You're sitting a lot anyway. You're sitting in your car, sitting at your computer. So take a 1-minute break on your computer and just hand to the heart, hand to the belly, and breathe. I used to do a lot of work in hospitals, and I ran a yoga therapy program in 4 hospitals in New Jersey. Deborah Heart and Lung was kind of one of the big ones, big programs that I had over there. And I used to do a lot of trainings with the doctors and nurses also. And so the one thing that I would always say to them in these trainings was, so unless you're saving a life or doing something along that line, at the top of every hour, you have 1 minute. Stop. Stop 1 minute wherever you are. Plant your feet into the ground. Sit down, stand, whatever. Hand to the heart, hand to the belly, and breathe mindfully for 1 minute, eyes closed. To this day, years later, I still get emails from the nurses and the doctors. Now they call me Swamini. Back then it was Sudha. Sudha, oh my gosh, you don't understand how much this has changed my life. I still do it. I don't do it if I'm saving a life. They always make that little joke. I said, but I do this, and it resets everything. So have a breathing practice, minimum of 1 minute, multiple times throughout the day to reset yourself and to reconnect. And I could continue, but I won't. That's enough for now. That's enough for now. Play with those and see how well they serve. Yeah. And then if something doesn't feel good to you, like if you can't stand getting on the yoga mat, right? Like some people just aren't called to get on the yoga mat. It's not bad. It's the temperament that you have in this moment. So build up on the other ones until that temperament shifts. And if you don't like stopping for a minute multiple times of the day to breathe, tell yourself you're being silly because you're breathing anyway, but, build up on the other 2 until the temperament shifts and changes, and then try it again at another point in time and see if you can build relationship with it then. Don't ever look at your practice as a failure. You come and go from the practice because people come and go from everything, period. But see, when we're in that unhealthy mindset that's seeking perfection, we don't remember that. We don't remember that there are lulls in everything that we do. It's not to say, just go with the lulls. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, don't condemn yourself over it. If you can't build up on one thing right now, then build up on something else. Maybe some of you have heard about this in school when you were in school, science class talking about nature. We have the stream that runs over here, and there's a field right next to the stream, and every year it gets filled with all kinds of stuff that we didn't put there, and some stuff that we did put there, like clippings from the garden and seeds and stuff like that. Now we've got it all mowed. Now we have to maintain mowing it, because otherwise nature will fill that with something else. So once you start clearing yourself out, you need to maintain, because otherwise nature will fill that niche with something. Best to be something of your own choosing, conscious choosing, and not just an old habit coming back to haunt you.
I like that. Yeah, that's good.
Any other questions for today? Good?
Okay, I have one more.
Okay.
Okay, so you're, meditating, stopping to breathe, mindfulness, yoga, incorporating all these things. But when you're not doing that, what happens when, uncomfortable feelings or anger or anything comes back to, throughout the workday or whatever?
Yeah. So initially nothing. They just come back. Right? So you're practicing these practices for like a day, right? The benefit is not likely going to bleed over into other areas of life right away. It might, but you're not probably going to be highly aware of it. But the more that you do these things, so say you do these things for 6 weeks, every single day, suddenly you're going to start recognizing little changes, little differences about yourself. When you're at work, a fellow employee does something that usually irritates you, and you're just like, whatever, not going to even invest in that. And then you stop and you're like, whoa, that used to irritate the hell out of me. Oh, okay. You don't think twice about it. But really what that is your practice working. Maybe you would typically put your foot on the gas, even if you didn't have to be there sooner rather than later, and then all of a sudden you find that you're driving slower, more mindful of other drivers, It's because your practice compels you to slow down. Your practice compels you to be more aware. Initially, you're not going to notice it so much. You might not. It just depends. But the longer that you practice, Patanjali, oftentimes called the father of yoga because he wrote it down, but he didn't create it much earlier than him. But he wrote down, he said, for your practice to really be a supreme practice, in other words, for you to gain the benefits of the practice, it must be done consistently over a long period of time with little to no interruption and with great enthusiasm. So eventually we look at it and we say, well, I've got a minute every other hour. I've got 5, tomorrow 6 minutes, then the 7 minutes of meditation in the morning. I've got a couple of postures that I do on my mat. I can carve times out of the day for these things. But eventually you realize you don't have to carve time out. These things are you. They are expressions of you. And so pretty soon you're wanting to do it more, not less. Everything else becomes the inconvenience, right? It's like, and that's cute and it's true. Eventually we want to be in this place called sama, sameness. So if I have to go to the store and go grocery shopping, I go and I breathe along the way, and I pay attention and I'm mindful. And if I have to go run the kids somewhere, then we just do what we have to do in life. But we do it with a different air about us, an air of gratitude, mindfulness, presence, awareness. Yeah. We don't say, well, if I didn't get on my mat for an hour this morning, then I guess I just am not going to practice today. Oh, you practice. Every moment, everything you do, every moment, every breath. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's sit tall. We'll close the eyes. Take a breath in and a breath out. And draw the hands together in front of the heart. And we'll lift our voices in one Om. Take a breath in. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Peace, Peace, Peace. Thank you all so much for being here today. Lovely to gather with each and every one of you. If you haven't eaten yet, please do. They go to such wonderful, they just do such wonderful service in the kitchen, and it's all healthy and it's vegan and it's gluten-free, and Brahmani has a table out front today. The farm market wasn't open, so she's here. So if you're able to, it's gluten-free and vegan. I just can't even tell you.
It's delicious.
I keep telling her, you've got to stop making these things. Because the more you make, I got to buy. Like, oh, desires, right? Yeah. But they really are good, so get at least one thing. And have a beautiful day. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Hey. You're very welcome. Very welcome. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Next week, just in case anybody's wondering, the full moon kirtan and satsang will be in the auditorium, and that's where the drum circle will be too. So anybody who's planning on coming to that will be inside. It's getting a little too cool for out there. Of course, next week it could be 95.
Yeah,
Is your birthday on the 9th?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in the tradition, we celebrate birthdays by serving others, and so the invitation is to come and to sit and to receive. So.
It was my ex-husband's birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you're
It was John Lennon's birthday.
Yes, it was. Yep, John Lennon's birthday.
Another
And
peacemaker.
yours